Hello and welcome to Amethyst Style Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today we're looking at welcoming woods and peaceful deer. Now peaceful deer really is sort of a Christmas time, beautiful stamp set, and I will be doing a lot with it, but I've used the little tiny rabbit before. And this time we're going to use the deer because you can do a nature scene without making it Christmas. And I wanted to show that you can use the stamp sets all year round for different things. And then we're using the Welcoming Woods, which again is a lovely background birch tree and lots of sentiments. So you've got happy birthdays, you've got best wishes, you've got celebrate, you've got thank you, you've got hello friend, you've got good luck. So lots of sentiments, again, will go all year round. And who doesn't love trees? I love trees. So I thought we would do something with that today, and we're going to use a few techniques which I know a lot of you probably will already know, but there's quite a few people who are new to crafting, and I keep doing ideas sometimes and people go, oh, I never thought of that. So it's to do with lots of masking. So first of all, we need to stamp out this image. Now I'm going to use a foam mat underneath, and this is actually from the Stamparatus, because this is quite a large photopolymer stamp and it does need quite a bit of pressure. And I'm going to do it in, says me looking for it, in soft suede. So I've just got a standard piece of cardstock, whatever size you use for the front of your cards when you're using a piece of basic white. I don't do all the measurements because we have people from all around the world who tune in, and we all use different sizes, so it really doesn't matter what size you're using. You know, you could use a square card, you could use a long card, you could use whatever you're using. Just make your mats and layers 1/4 of an inch in different sizes. Now I have to ink this one up really quite well because it is a very detailed stamp, and I'm always trying to make sure that I have the inside piece here, particularly this inside one doesn't always stamp out the best for me, and if it carries on like that, I will actually get a replacement. One of the good things about Stampin' Up is that if you get something which isn't quite right, they will replace it, no questions asked. So we're going to put it sort of in the center so there's even distance from the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to stand up and I'm going to press it quite firmly, particularly in this centerpiece, because that's the piece that is not at the moment stamping very well for me. So I'm just going to let it rest and we shall see how it comes out. Hopefully it'll come out beautifully. Okay, let's have a look and see. Fingers crossed. No, it hasn't. Let me just give it another quick press down in this centerpiece, and I've got it on a foam mat, so I do need to see that it's not perfect, it's not too bad. As I say, I am going to actually get in touch with them and get a replacement on that, because it should stamp out perfectly right the way across, and for some reason I think there's a little bit of a problem with that little bit in the center. However, we can rectify it, and I did show you before. So if we take, okay, I'm going to take a, trying to see if I've got, I don't think I've got soft suede actually. Have I got soft suede? Is that soft suede? I think that probably is about. So let's take this, and you can do a little bit of fill-in. So I'm literally just doing some sort of dotty bits along here, which will fill it in. But as I say, I am going to get a replacement, and that is one of the things that I would say Stampin' Up is so good that, you know, if you do have a stamp, and I have been working with this for a little while, and there are some dead spots in it. So if you find that you've got something that isn't quite right, you can get it replaced really easily with Stampin' Up, which I think is brilliant. So I'm just, as I say, just filling this in with a few little dots so that it doesn't matter for what we're doing today. But it is worth knowing that if you do buy anything and it's not quite right, they will replace it without an issue at all. So that's really good. Okay, so we've rectified this little sort of blank spot in the middle, and now what we're going to do is, I don't need this this mat anymore. We are going to do some masking. Now, masking, what I've done is I stamped this out again, and you can see again I've got the blank spot in there. And what I'm going to do is, I haven't done it all the way, because if you cut all the pieces out, you've then got to remember which piece goes where. So what I've done is I have taken this, because I want something to be hiding behind. And if you want it hiding behind, what you have to do is to make sure that you've got I got that in the right place? No, I haven't. There we go. You need to make sure that you've got your trees covered. So I'm covering that one, and I've done this on this side so I can cover this one. I haven't worried about the branches because they're very tiny, and I'm not doing something that's going all the way up. I'm going to do, because I thought it would be quite nice, you need to make sure that you've got your paper right on the edge of where you stamped, because if you have it too far across, you will then get a little blank spot. So I'm just easing this out so you can see I've got it just where I want it. You can use double-sided tape, you can stick it down if you want to. I'm quite happy just to put it down like that. And then we're going to take the lovely little deer. So let's put this on here. So this is the deer from Peaceful Deer. And I'm going to have the little lying deer, I think, because I think that that will be quite sweet. So we're going to put this onto a block, and I'm going to do this in Memento, and because I'm going to colour it with blends. So I'm using black Memento. Make sure I've got the image inked up nicely. And then we are going to, you'll have to excuse if my head sort of comes in a little bit, because what I want to do is to have, and in fact, I do need to cut this little piece on here, because I think it's going to be long enough that it's going to come over where his little bottom is. So I'm just going to cut a little piece out like this. And as I say, this is just scrap copy paper. It happens to be orange, but I've got some white copy paper and pastel, and sometimes I prefer, when I'm doing masking, to use some coloured copy paper because it's easier to distinguish it. So this is going to go down on here, so I'm just lining it up with those pieces so that it hopefully will lie reasonably flat like that. Okay. Then I'm going to ink this up again, just in case it had dried out. And then I'm going to put my little deer just in. I want his little face showing, so put him in like that. Hopefully his little face is showing. Press him down, hold my little masks, And then when I take the masks off, you will have your little deer hiding rather nicely behind the trees. So you can do that with any image, you know, you can do it with a standing deer, you can use it with any animals, you can do it when you're doing, you know, people and things. It works perfectly. So now what we need to do is just clean that stamp off. We are going to take a blend, and I'm choosing, this one is the bronze. You get the bronze and the skin tone one in together, and it means that you can, they're quite good for doing the colouring. So I'm literally just going to colour this little deer in. Right the way round, and I'm not going to do any shading or anything with him. I'm just going to have him just as a little solid deer, because then he shows up behind. So I'm going to put this down like this, take him round on here. But it's a really good way of doing, having something so it comes behind instead of in front. And with trees it's quite good to have, you know, little creatures and things, or a little bit of interest peeping round. Let's get his little bottom in. And you need to look at and see the sort of image that you're putting, because you want something which is in proportion to what you're, you know, what you're putting in. So if you've got something that's too big, so for example, I had a look at Nature's Beauty, and I'll show you why I chose not to do that. It would have had to have been a very tiny woodland. In fact, a few trees. So if I take the, where is it, Nature's Beauty, which is a lovely stamp set, but if you look at the size of, I've used this an awful lot, but if you look at the size of that, it would have to be a very tiny little thicket to put the deer in there, because it's not quite in proportion. You know, the same with most of the image, even the bunny. You see, the bunny is the size of the deer, so if you put that there, it would have to be, you know, a tiny little thicket rather than birch trees. So, you know, be aware of that when you're putting it in. Okay, so we now have the image behind. What we do need to do is we want to make sure that we're going to do the little piece of, let me find that stamp set again. There's a little piece here which is great for grounding. So I'm building up this scene, and I'm going to be using, let me get some of the colours that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using Daffodil Delight Pool Party, and then we'll have Pear Pizzazz for the ground. So let me just ink this one up. And you need to have it the way so it's like a little smile up on here. Make sure I've got that bit inked up. Yes, I have. And then you can line it up, and again, excuse if my head comes in, I'm going to bring it down just a little bit, because what I want to do is to line it up, but I also want it to come to the bottom of where the deer is, so that it looks as if the deer is actually lying on something rather than being in the top. So you've then got your deer perfectly seated on the bottom there, which sort of makes a scene. Now what we can do is we can use some of our blends, and we're going to create a background on here. So again, I'm going to grab a bit of, have I got a piece of scrap that I can use. Yes, I'm sure I have. Let me have a look. Yes, so I've got a piece of scrap here that I used for cutting the image out. So just put that up so you can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take now, because these are quite dark, apart from the piece that didn't come out, we can use our blends and things straight onto the image. So I'm using Pool Party for the sky, and we move these pieces out of the way. So I'm going to turn it this way, starting off, and then we're just going to build that up. So and I'm just bringing it down in between where the trees are. And down so that it comes over where the grass is. And then we're going to do exactly the same in the middle. Just down to the top of the deer. And then I'm going to turn it around the other way because it's easier for me to do it so that it's facing me. So you're starting on the edge to get your colour going to start off with. And then we're going in over where the deer is, just on there. Okay, so that's our blue sky coming in. I'm going to use the same brush because I can just rub it off a bit. And we're then going to use, I want to have the deer sort of silhouetted a bit, sort of in the sunshine, so that, you know, sometimes when you spot a deer. So I'm using the other colour. So what I'm doing is I'm loading the brush up and tapping it off so I know I've got the right colour. And then what I'm going to do is literally just tap, because I don't want to blend it. I just want to have just like that, just a little bit of sort of sun ray coming up through. Now I can clean that off again, and I'm going to go back to the Pool Party to just blend that little bit in. So cleaning this off, loading it up with the Pool Party, and then I'm just going in, tapping it first and then blending that in just into where the sky is, so that those edges just blend in nicely. Okay, so you've just got that just softened it just a little bit. Okay, so now we've got, we need to add some grass to carry on down from where we've done the grounding. So I'm using Pear Pizzazz for this, which is what I used for stamping on there. I can't remember whether I told you. Cleaning the brush off again, loading it up with the green, and then we'll start from the bottom and just build it up. I tap like that purely because I'm holding the other bit with my hand, so it's just easier for me to do it that way. And then, as I say, just blend it through, and then you've got your nice little scene. Okay, so I don't want to have the whole of that. I think it's too busy, but I wanted to do all the cutting on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the colour and contour dies, which are here, and these are really lovely. I can take this scrap piece off now. These are really good because you have all of these rather nice frames in there, and I thought that we would cut this down. So let me have a look and see. That's the largest, or the second largest one down, and that will if I take it up through on here, that covers that area quite nicely. So I'm going to die cut it exactly along those two lines on there. So let me just get my die cutting machine out. Probably not the best thing to put it on my slidey mat, but it will work like that. So I'm just going to put it, hopefully you can see some of it, and I'm just going to put this in on here. So I just want to line it up so that it comes just to the edge of those, and then I can take it down a little bit if I wanted to, or to the top. I want to have it so that it's in proportion, as it were. So I think that's about right. Now you notice that I put everything in slightly on a slant. If you're doing things with squares, rectangles, squares, anything like that, never put them flat, because they go through far easier if you just take them in at a slight angle. You can hear there's no sort of heavy duty cracking and banging, which is because you're reducing the angle that it goes through. So as I say, a little tip, never put it through that way, always turn it slightly at a slant. Okay, that's the only bit that I need to die cut, so I can just move that back out of the way. Get myself positioned again, because everything will have slid. So let me just take that in to about there. All my bits sliding all over the place. Okay, so we don't need that mask. I can put that out of the way. Right. Okay, so I now have, if we take this piece, if I take that off, there we go. You've now got a really rather nice little scene on there. And if you want to, we can add some extra sponging on there, but I actually quite like it to just look like that. So I am going to take a piece of, and I've done a couple of these bits before, so I've taken a piece of, this is the new paper, which is called, let me grab it, I had it out here so I would remember what it is. It's the lovely one with all the dogs on, and I said I really loved this one, which is the pool party image, because it doesn't come over any of the dogs. And the paper's called, says me, I need to slide in and see, it's called Sweet Stockings, and it's in the new mini catalogue. But I really love this pool party. So I've got a piece of pool party for my base, and I'm going to put this in on here so that that's my mat. And then I'm going to take this, and I think I'm going to have it just at a slight angle on there. I don't want this one completely straight, so I'll have it at a slight angle. And then from the same stamp set, I have taken the Hello Friend, and I've die cut that with, this is from the dies that go with the set. Hold on, let me grab it again from my shelf so you can see. This is the Quiet Meadow. So that's Quiet Meadow, which is lovely. I love that. I love all the texture and everything in it. And then the dies that go with it, which die cut out all these beautiful meadow flowers. You've got one here which does a frame. So, you know, lots and lots of dies in this one. I'm really pleased with this die set, and I am using it a lot. So, you know, always choose things that you're going to use a lot. So I'm just going to put that out of the way. I'll put that back in the shelf in a minute. So we're going to have this in at an angle like that. And then I thought I would probably put maybe some ribbon across there, because this lends itself to, you know, putting a little bit of ribbon in on these little holes on there. Putting it up with dimensionals. So we'll have that up with dimensionals. And then I'm going to add some rhinestones on. So let's just get this sort of together. So we'll have, take this off on here. I'm going to put the Hello Friend across with some dimensionals. So let's pop those in first of all. I need to get my dimensionals out. Have I got any left in on here? Yes, I have. Right, so we want some dimensionals and I want some rhinestones, and I'm going to use some of the new silver, the silver twine. There's silver and gold twine, which again is in the, I think it's in the annual catalogue, but just look up you know, silver. If I can remember, I'll put it down underneath for you. I don't always remember all of those. So we're going to put this one up with the dimensionals. What I am going to do is I do want to try and fill in that bit of that tree, because that's bothering me now. So have I got, don't know whether I've got a, this is, I haven't got a light. This is a dark crumb cake, which might actually work as, let me just have a little look on here and see what colour it's coming out at. That's better, isn't it? Right, so I'm just going to fill in this bit of the tree a bit, because as I say, it's just annoying me that it's not as dark as it should be on everything. So I just want to make sure that it's not so pale that it really is making a huge difference. So I can just take that, because I don't want it to spoil the card. Just doing sort of lines. So as I say, there are ways to rectify things, and I'm going to do it across on here as well, because I quite like that, bringing up just a little bit more of the tones, because the outside trees are quite dark, but these ones where they're not catching on the stamping, they're not coming out as well as they should. So, you know, there's always a way of rectifying things. That's better. That's much better. That gives more of a definition of them, because I didn't want to put it together and it not to look as it should do. Okay, so I can now take this. So let's take my card back on there. I'm going to have that at that angle, so I want to straighten up the sentiment on here. So let's take the dimensionals. We'll pop some dimensionals on here. Don't need a lot. I'm just going to have 3, one in the middle, one on either end and one in the middle, so that it just sort of balances it out and you don't have any spots where it's going to sag. I could have put larger ones, but I think the minis work really well. Fingers out like that. Okay, now we can put this in. So if we're having that at that sort of angle, like that, I'm going to put this in straight across like that. There we are. So you've got the dimension on there. I put this one up with dimension. I'm not going to do that at the moment. What I am going to do is, in fact, yes, I do need to do it all, don't I? Okay, so we're going to take this with some wet glue, because I need to finish get all the colours and things combined together. So we'll put this in, take that off. Come on, glue. Do I need to get a new one? Oh, not quite, just coming out. Okay, so we're going to put this in on here. So we've got our lovely combining colours. And then this one is going to come in at an angle because I want that angle on it. So I need to put some dimensionals on the back of here. I don't know whether I've got any. Excuse me 1 second while I have a quick look to see if I've got any. There we go. Just grab some out of my stash. I want large ones for this, or standards. Our dimensionals are so good because we have large, we have standard, we have minis, and we have black ones now. And I love the fact that they're hexagonal, because if you want to try and get them into little places, then you will find that they work really well. And I'm going to have quite a few on here, or at least one on that side and there. Will that be enough? No, I need to have another, just one in on here and there, because it's a big piece. I don't want to have sagging. And quite often, if you don't have enough, and I know I'm quite frugal with my crafting, but with the dimensionals, it is one of those things that you do need to have them enough so you don't get a sag. So it's worth doing that. And again, it's one of those things when you put an order in, always sort of have your regular things like dimensionals and paper, you know, cardstock. Just always sort of remember and think, oh yes, I need to, right now I need to remember that I want to have that straight. So this is coming at the angle, but I want that piece straight. So that's going to come in like that. So we have a nice angle on there. And then, haha, there's me, completely forgot about this ribbon that I was going to put in. I was going to put, and I don't think I can do that now. What I could do is to maybe have, let's see if we can do it that way, because I just fancied a little bit of ribbon on here. And this is quite interesting ribbon, I shall say. It's not the easiest because it's quite, what do we call it, quite sort of wiry. So, and in fact, I'm going to thread it. So I'm going to do in on that one, and then see if I can get it to come up through this one here. So hold on a second. This is where I need my tweezers, which I haven't got. There we go. That'll come through on there. Come on. There we go. Okay, so I threaded it down and up, and then I'm just going to tie a bow on it. So I always leave it on the thread, on the spool, because then I can adjust it as I want to. So I need to, and as I say, it's not the easiest because it's slightly sort of ribbed, but I think it'll work okay. So that down there, I'll have this up. Take this little one in like that and give it a pull. I can bring my little ends in. Bring that little end in. It's sort of about that size. Just give that one down a little bit. That one down a little bit. That's not too bad. Then we can trim this one off there. And I can trim this one off on here. So just trim the tails a little bit. This is where you need good snips. So that's given that. That's quite pretty. That's given a little sort of twinkly on there. And then I wanted to take the rhinestones and add some of those. And I think I'm going to use the... Do I want the large or the... I'm going to use the middling sized ones this time. So we're going to have one just sort of up in the corner on there. We're going to have one down in the bottom on there. And then we're going to have one in on just on the end there. So that just adds a little extra bit of twinkly on there. Okay, so that's given us a really rather pretty card with the scene in there, but then just building it up and using different colours and things, the pool parties and some rhinestones and a bit of ribbon or a bit of twine to just sort of add some extra to it. So I hope you enjoyed that. As always, please stay safe and well, and please be kind. Look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.